The disappearance of Lynette Hooker. On April 4, 2026, a woman disappeared from the ocean. Her name was Lynette Hooker. She was 55 years old, a mother, someone's wife, and according to text messages she sent just 3 months earlier, she was terrified of being on a boat with that husband. "I can't be out there with him," she wrote to a friend. It was real bad. Not going back. But that night, in the darkness off Elbow Cay in the Bahamas, she agreed to do exactly that. She got into an 8-foot dinghy with the man she feared, and then she vanished. A search was launched. The U.S. Coast Guard opened a criminal investigation. Bahamian police arrested the husband. And today, the case remains one of the most disturbing questions in modern crime. Why would a woman with documented fear of being alone with her husband on a boat agree to take a nighttime voyage with him across open water? What happened in those hours between sunset and dawn? And what do the details investigators have uncovered actually reveal? This is the story of Lynette Hooker. A case built on contradictions that nobody seems able to explain. Welcome to Crime Blackline Archive, where we investigate the cases that demand answers. We don't offer easy conclusions here. We offer documentation, police reports, court records, verified evidence, and the questions that keep investigators awake at night. Before we go deeper into this investigation, if you're interested in cases like this, real crimes, real mysteries, real people, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We release new investigations every single week. Drop a comment below and tell us what you think happened. We read every single one. Now let's begin with what we actually know. Part 1. A Life on the Water. To understand what happened that April night, you need to understand who Lynette Hooker was and the life she had built. Lynette was from Onsted, Michigan, a small town about 72 miles southwest of Detroit. She was 55 years old when she disappeared, but those who knew her describe a woman who moved through the world with the energy of someone much younger. In video after video posted to social media, the light caught her in motion, wind in her hair, sun on her shoulders, laughter carried off before it fully landed. The ocean wasn't just a backdrop for her. It was her element, what she called her happy place. Lynette's mother, Darlene Hamlet, described her daughter's life as always being near lakes, on boats, sailing and swimming. CNN Lynette was a regular swimmer. She knew the sea, she breathed it. Brian and Lynette Hooker had been married for about 25 years. They were from the same state, shared the same horizons, and, at least on the screens of thousands of followers, appeared to share the same dream. The couple posted regularly on social media, including Instagram, as the Sailing Hookers, offering updates on boat repairs, sailing trips, island explorations, and life at sea. CNN. The story of the boat begins in January 2023. Brian and Lynette documented their experience buying and cleaning up their boat in Rockport, Texas, in a video posted on YouTube. Fox News. After several years of driving around the country, looking for our perfect sailboat, we finally found her in Texas, Lynette said in that 8-minute video, smiling into the camera while Brian worked the rigging in the background. She was a little rough on the edges. The decks needed to be redone, but we knew we were up for the task. The video showed them working together, scraping, priming, painting. There was even a message overlaid on the screen. "The decks are done. We're still married. Party time." They named the boat Soulmate. In March 2023, they shared a video of their first attempt at crossing the Gulf of America. In April of that same year, they were in New Orleans buying supplies. Fox News. Brian appeared on camera holding a case of beer. "We got the grub," he said, grinning. "Delivery." The way of life, man. After a gap of more than 2 years on the channel, they reappeared in August 2025 in Fernandina Beach, Florida, then in September in Coloma, California. By March 2026, they were in the Bahamas, posting videos of paddleboarding in Marsh Harbor. Fox News. Lynette's last Instagram post showed darkened skies and choppy water, the horizon blurred by rain. "Here we are at Marsh Harbor," she wrote. "The Sea of Abaco is very entertaining, and they say we'll have some fun if it stops raining." CNN days after that post, Lynette Hooker would be reported missing. Part 2. The night of April 4th. On the surface, the story is simple. Brian Hooker told authorities his wife fell from an 8-foot dinghy near Elbow Cay in the Abaco Islands Saturday evening as the couple was traveling back to their yacht. Strong currents subsequently carried her away, and he lost sight of her, police said Brian Hooker told them. CNN Lynette Hooker was wearing the keys, also known as an engine safety lanyard, a cord designed to cut power if the operator is thrown overboard, when she fell off the dinghy, which made the boat lose power, so he tried to paddle to shore, according to his account shared by police. CNN Cook said Lynette Hooker was not wearing a personal flotation device. CNN, however, Brian later told his stepdaughter otherwise. Aylesworth told CNN that Brian Hooker left her a voicemail saying authorities had found a flotation device he threw to Lynette Hooker after she went overboard. "Hello, honey. I just got a call from Hopetown Search and Rescue, and they have found a flotation device that I threw to Mom when she fell overboard," Brian Hooker said in the voicemail shared with CNN. CNN Hooker drifted 4 miles toward Marsh Harbor, Abaco. Mr. Hooker then tried to row, but the winds were 1822 kts and he could not make headway, Cook said. When he reached land, he beached the dinghy and made his way through the bush to the Marsh Harbor boatyards and called police. CNN. That call came at approximately 4 in the morning, roughly 8.5 hours after the alleged incident. In a nearly 45-minute phone call recorded on April 7th and later obtained by local media, Hooker described what he called a cascade of failures that led to the moment his wife allegedly fell overboard. "We did so many things wrong," Hooker said in the recording, pointing to weather, equipment issues and navigation challenges. M13. The call was recorded by Blaine Stevenson, a friend and member of the boating community who had known the couple since 2023, without Brian's knowledge. Stevenson said he initially recorded the call to get the locations Brian Hooker mentioned as he retold the events, since Stevenson was not familiar with the area. He published the phone call on his YouTube page after Brian Hooker was arrested because he said Brian Hooker was unable to speak for himself while detained. CNN. Part 3. The search and the questions. Authorities launched an extensive search involving the Royal Bahamas Police Force, the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, and Hopetown Volunteer Fire and Rescue, scouring the water and land near Elbow Cay. The U.S. Coast Guard also conducted an aerial search of the area. Search operations spanned the water, sky and land, using drone technology and professional divers. CNN. On Tuesday, April 8th, 4 days after the disappearance, U.S. Coast Guard and local police transitioned to a recovery mission, the goal of which is to retrieve victims who are presumed to be deceased. Biography. That same day, the Coast Guard confirmed it had opened a criminal investigation into the case. A local boat captain, Mo Monestime, who has spent 15 years chartering boats in the Great Abaco Island area, said he was shocked Lynette's body hadn't been found. "It is very hard to disappear because we're so close to land." If you do fall overboard and drown, somebody will see you the next day. Again, we can see bottom. I will see stingrays. I will see turtles. So I would see a human body. He added, even if you fall overboard in pitch dark, you still could see the lights from the shore. Fox News. The captain's words introduced a question that began circulating among investigators and forensic observers. If the incident happened this close to shore, where was Lynette Hooker's body? Lynette's daughter, Carly Aylesworth, told CNN her stepfather called her Sunday evening around 8:01 to 8:30 and said her mother was missing, approximately 24 hours after he had reported her disappearance to police. He said, like matter of fact, "Hey, your mom is missing. We don't know where she is. She's been missing since last night, but we're going to come up there soon to see you," Aylesworth told CNN. She said she felt like he just dropped a bomb on me, and then he began talking again before suddenly ending the call. And I was just like, okay, like what? How do you just lose my mom? CNN Brian Hooker was arrested because of perceived inconsistencies in his story, with authorities and family members both questioning why Lynette had the ignition keys on her in the first place. Lynette's daughter also wondered why her stepdad never left the dinghy. Why wouldn't he drop anchor and look for her? Why did he paddle the other way? She asked in an interview with CNN. Biography. Part 4. The Record. 21 years of pattern. Here is where the case becomes genuinely disturbing. Because what appears on the surface to be a tragic boating accident begins to acquire a much darker context when you examine the history of this marriage. Let's start in 2005, 21 years before Lynette's disappearance. Court records show Brian Hooker was acquitted of a child abuse charge in 2006. Click on Detroit. The accusation was specific. He had choked a child. Police photographed the marks on the child's neck. The evidence was documented. The case went to trial, and then a jury acquitted him. He walked free. No conviction, no criminal record, just an accusation that never resulted in consequences. A decade passes. In 2015, police responded to a domestic violence call at the couple's home in Kentwood, Michigan. Brian Hooker stated he was assaulted by his wife Lynette Hooker. He said he was struck in the face multiple times. An officer noted, Brian Hooker had a bloody nose that was red and swollen. CNN Lynette Hooker was highly intoxicated, the officer wrote in the report. She stated she was struck in the forehead by her husband Brian. The officer said Lynette Hooker had no visible injuries. A prosecutor reviewed the case and determined there was insufficient evidence as to who started the assault, the police report said. The case was dismissed without charges being brought. CNN Lynette was the one who spent the night in jail, not Brian. That detail, that it was the wife who was arrested, not the husband, deserves careful attention. The system arrested the woman who said she had been assaulted. The dynamics of control and fear that frequently precede a violent incident are rarely visible to officers arriving after the fact. Who appears more cooperative? Who seems more credible? These are the variables that determine who gets handcuffed and who goes home, not necessarily who the actual aggressor was. Lynette's daughter told CNN her stepfather had choked her mother. CNN not hit her, not pushed her, choked her. That specific form of physical violence, compression of the neck, is recognized by domestic violence researchers as one of the most serious markers of intimate partner homicide risk. Studies published in academic journals show that victims of strangulation by partners face a significantly elevated risk of being killed by that same person in the future. The 2005 accusation involving strangulation of a child, which resulted in acquittal, and the daughter's account of Brian choking Lynette create a pattern that risk assessment specialists take extremely seriously. Jordan Plentz, 29 years old, who lives across the street from the Hookers, described the marriage as turbulent, with a long history of fighting. She learned about the marriage from Lynette's mother, who lived with the couple. "I wasn't shocked when I heard about it," Plentz said. "They fought for a long time. The violence was pretty bad." The Detroit News. Then, in January 2024, something changed. Lynette and Brian separated, and during that separation, Lynette sent text messages to a friend. Not casual messages. Messages that revealed something fundamental about her state of mind. "I can't be out there with him. It was real bad. I'm scared of boating with my husband. Not going back." These are not vague concerns. These are specific, documented, time-stamped expressions of terror from a woman about her own husband. And then, this is the question the case has never answered, they reconciled. The separation ended. Lynette agreed to return to the boat, back to the confined space, back with the man she had said she feared. And 3 months later, in April 2026, she was gone. Part 5. The Arrest, the Silence, and the Questions Without Answers. On April 8, 2026, 4 days after Lynette's disappearance, Brian Hooker was arrested by the Royal Bahamas Police Force. Royal Bahamas Police Force Assistant Commissioner Eduardo Dams told Reuters he was arrested for additional questioning based on some probable cause we have. He was taken into custody as a suspect. CNN Brian Hooker's attorney, Terrell Butler, said in a statement that her client appears completely heartbroken and deeply distressed, and that the trauma of his wife's disappearance and his detention as a suspect has left him in an extremely fragile state. CNN. She stated that he categorically and unequivocally denies any wrongdoing. On April 10th, Brian was questioned for more than 3 hours about his relationship with his wife and whether he had caused her harm. Click on Detroit Butler told CNN police focused on the couple's personal life and did not ask about evidence from the boat or electronic devices. He was overwhelmed, he was upset, and he kept reiterating that, "I need to know what's happening with the search of my wife," Butler said. 6 ABC, Philadelphia. A magistrate approved an extension allowing police to continue holding Brian Hooker through Monday evening under Bahamian law. Under Bahamian law, police can keep someone in custody for up to 48 hours, but they may ask the court for an extension that allows them to hold a suspect for an additional 96 hours while they investigate. CNN. On April 13th, Brian Hooker walked out of custody without charges. Royal Bahamas Police Commissioner Shanta Knowles said that authorities made the decision to release Brian Hooker after consulting with prosecutors and that he remains a suspect as the investigation continues. CNN. I am happy to see justice. That justice is really working in this country. They had no evidence and they had no choice but to release him, Butler said outside the building where Hooker had been held. CNN following Brian Hooker's release, Lynette Hooker's daughter told CNN, "As long as there has been a thorough investigation into all the facts, then I'll have to live with the fact that it's an accident, but I don't think this is the end." CNN. After his release, Brian gave interviews to NBC, CBS, and ABC. "I want people to know that Lynette is my life, and we have been together almost half my life, and we belong to each other, and I mean to keep looking," Brian Hooker told NBC. He said that the 10 days without his wife by his side was the longest he had ever been apart from her. CNN. When asked if there was anything he wishes he'd done differently, Brian Hooker was emotional, saying, I will always think there was something I could have done differently. My one job was to look out for her, and that has not happened. And I'm gonna keep looking out for her now, the best I can. 99.9 Y Country. Then, 2 days after his release, Brian Hooker left the Bahamas. His attorneys said he flew back to the United States after learning his mother was seriously ill, and that he plans to return to the Bahamas. News Nation Carly Aylesworth and her boyfriend Steve Hansen said they were surprised to learn her stepfather had left. We're not going to say that he doesn't deserve to see his mother before she dies, but we're just saying Carly didn't get that option. Carly didn't get the option to see her mother before she died, Hansen said. Sports Radio WSBT. Part 6. The Investigation Beyond the Bahamas. What makes the Lynette Hooker case different from an ordinary police investigation is the scale of the agencies involved. The U.S. Coast Guard became involved and conducted an aerial search of the area. The Coast Guard said it had opened a criminal investigation in the case. CNN, the agency, has authority to investigate maritime incidents involving American citizens even in foreign waters under certain conditions. The Royal Bahamas Defense Force said in a statement that the search and recovery work is ongoing, with operations involving extensive shoreline patrols, sea patrols, aerial drone surveillance, and submersible drone operations. ABC News. On April 16th, the U.S. Coast Guard brought in cadaver dogs to assist in the search. News Nation Carly Aylesworth and her boyfriend Steve Hansen arrived in the Bahamas and gave a statement to Bahamian police, planning to retrace her mother's last steps. They're just not releasing information because it's an ongoing investigation, which we understand, Hansen told ABC News. We seem frustrated because of the fact that we haven't found her yet, and we would hope by now we would have. Sports Radio WSBT friends of the couple, who had known them since 2023, said Brian needed to step up. Brian, I know he was a former Marine. He was a union leader. He was a staunch person of the people, Stevenson said. Brian needs to step up. News Nation. The Bahamian military signaled it could suspend its search as early as Thursday after analyzing tide, drift and wind, saying authorities were running out of locations to search. The U.S. Coast Guard confirmed that its criminal investigation into Brian Hooker remains ongoing. Fox News. Part 7. The Contradictions, One by One. Let's examine the specific contradictions that investigators and family members have flagged, not as accusations, as documented facts that conflict with the account given. The ignition key. Why was Lynette Hooker holding the engine's safety lanyard when she fell? The kill switch cord is designed to be worn by the operator of the vessel. It cuts the engine if the pilot goes overboard. If Brian was piloting the dinghy, as he claimed, why did Lynette have the device? Brian's attorney has not allowed him to answer questions about the incident in media interviews, citing the ongoing investigation. The life jacket. Lynette Hooker was not wearing a personal flotation device, according to the fire and rescue team lead, CNN. The couple had years of sailing experience. They were, by every account, experienced mariners. Why would a woman with over a decade on the water be in a small dinghy at night in rough conditions without any flotation? The time gap. Brian says Lynette went overboard around 7:30 p.m. He arrived at the boatyard and alerted police around 4 a.m. That is an interval of approximately 8.5 hours. Paddling 4 miles in difficult conditions might take 2 to 3 hours. What happened during the remaining hours? The notification call. Brian informed his stepdaughter of her mother's disappearance approximately 24 hours after the incident, not immediately after alerting police. Aylesworth described the call as arriving matter-of-fact, before Brian abruptly ended the conversation while she was still processing what she had heard. CNN. The voicemail contradiction. Brian left Carly a voicemail saying he had thrown a flotation device to Lynette as she fell, but the fire and rescue team confirmed Lynette was not wearing a flotation device. These accounts can technically be reconciled. He may have thrown it after she fell, but if he was close enough to throw it, he was close enough to see where she was. Why couldn't he reach her? The visibility question. The local boat captain with 15 years of experience described the waters as clear enough to see rays and turtles on the bottom, and said that even in pitch darkness, the lights of the shore are visible from the water. Fox News. This description conflicts with the image of a disappearance in impenetrable darkness, with no way to track where someone went. Part 8. The forensic angle and what experts say. Jennifer Coffin-Daffer, a former FBI special agent, told Newsweek that the possibility of Lynette Hooker being found alive is very remote, but that authorities could proceed with a case against her husband even without a body, based on other evidence. They need to look at his Google searches. "I'll be interested to see if he Googled anything," she said. Newsweek device forensics has become one of the most decisive tools in maritime homicide investigations. Search history, navigation data, call logs and messages can paint a picture of intent that eyewitness accounts cannot. In other high-profile cases of suspected intimate partner violence at sea, the digital trail provided investigators with evidence that physical evidence could not. Butler, his attorney, noted that the line of questioning by investigators suggests authorities are looking into a possible murder charge, even though no body had been recovered at that point. NBC News. That is not a small detail. Investigators were already using the word murder in their questioning, not accident, not manslaughter, murder. The FBI's potential involvement in analyzing electronic communications, including decoded text messages, adds another dimension. What did Lynette's devices contain? What did Brian's devices contain? What would a forensic reconstruction of their digital communications in the days and weeks before April 4th reveal about the state of the relationship, about any plans made, about any fears expressed? We don't know yet, but the investigation is designed to find out. Part 9. Isolation as a tool of control. Domestic violence researchers and forensic psychologists have long documented the relationship between geographic isolation and abuse situations. Isolation is one of the most commonly used control tactics, removing the victim from their support network, family, friends, co-workers, so that they become exclusively dependent on the abuser. A boat in open water represents isolation in its most absolute form. There are no neighbors, no lit apartment windows where someone might hear a scream and call for help, no emergency services a short drive away. There are only two human beings in a confined space, with miles of water in every direction. In the Hooker case, this isolation was total and permanent. They lived on the soulmate. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The separation of January 2024 was perhaps the first time in years that Lynette had created enough physical distance to breathe, and it was in that space that the fear messages were written. "I can't be out there with him." When you are on a boat with someone, in open water, there is no door to slam. There is no street to run to. The image projected on social media also matters here. The soulmate, to the outside world, was the symbol of an enduring love. Two adventurers sailing the Caribbean, documenting every sunset, every sea turtle, every storm. The camera showed smiles. It showed laughter. It showed two people building a dream retirement on blue water. What the camera did not show were the arguments. The history of violence, the fear. There is a well-documented phenomenon in crime research. The digital platform creates an alternative reality that can further isolate a victim. If you document your life as a fairy tale, if your followers see only happiness, it becomes harder to admit to yourself and to others what is happening behind the lens. You may even convince yourself that what your private texts reveal is less real than the colorful life you post. Part 10. The question no one can answer. And here we arrive at the heart of this case. The question that no expert, no investigator, no family member has been able to satisfactorily answer. Why did Lynette Hooker go back? She had separated from her husband. She had told a friend she was afraid to be on a boat with him. She had documented that fear in text messages. She had acted on that fear by leaving the soulmate, even temporarily, and then she went back. 3 months after writing "Not Going Back," she went back. Domestic violence specialists would point out that this pattern, separation followed by reconciliation, is one of the most documented and tragic cycles of intimate partner abuse. The cycle of violence theory, developed by researcher Lynette Hooker in the 1970s, describes a recurring sequence: tension building, explosion, reconciliation, often called the honeymoon phase, calm, and then the cycle restarts. Victims return. Not out of weakness, but because the dynamics of control make leaving far more difficult than it appears from the outside. The financial dimension also deserves consideration. They lived on the boat. It was their home. Leaving wasn't just leaving a relationship, it was leaving her shelter, her possessions, her daily life structure, and her home in one move. That kind of logistical entanglement creates invisible chains that statistics cannot fully capture. And then there is the possibility, one that investigators have not ruled out, that the reconciliation itself was not entirely voluntary, that pressure, manipulation, or a specific set of promises made Lynette believe things would be different, that the man she had described as dangerous had changed or would change, that the life they had built together was worth one more attempt. We don't know what she was told. We don't know what she believed. We know what she wrote, and what she wrote was that she was afraid. Part 11. What we don't know, and why it matters. We have to be honest about the boundaries of what can be stated with certainty. Brian Hooker has not been charged with any crime. He has not been convicted of anything related to Lynette. The 2005 acquittal was a legal and final verdict on that specific accusation. The 2015 incident resulted in Lynette's arrest, not his, and the case was closed without formal charges. Brian remains, in the eyes of the law, innocent of any crime connected to his wife's disappearance or death. An accident is theoretically possible. Small dinghies do capsize. People do fall overboard. Nighttime conditions with strong winds and choppy waves significantly increase risk. The Coast Guard records hundreds of maritime accidents every year, many of them fatal, with no criminal involvement whatsoever. Brian's attorney is technically correct on one point. Without concrete, public evidence contradicting his account, the investigation faces significant legal challenges. Suspicion, even well-founded suspicion, even suspicion supported by historical patterns, is not sufficient to sustain a criminal charge. The legal system requires proof, and proof in an incident that occurred at night, on open water, without witnesses, is extraordinarily difficult to gather. But there is a difference between what the legal system can prove and what the documented facts suggest. And the documented facts, the history of violence, the fear messages, the inconsistencies in the account, the strangeness of the kill switch being on the passenger, the unexplained hours before the police alert, the expert opinion that a body should have been found quickly in those waters create a picture that at minimum justifies a long and detailed federal investigation. That investigation is ongoing. Art 12. The status as of today. As of April 19, 2026, the search for Lynette Hooker continues, though Bahamian authorities have signaled it may be suspended soon. After analyzing tide, drift, and wind, authorities say they are running out of locations to search. Fox News. The U.S. Coast Guard criminal investigation, however, continues. Federal investigations operate on different timelines than local ones. They can take months, sometimes years, and they have tools, forensic analysis, digital reconstruction, financial record review, interstate coordination, that local island police forces do not. Carly Aylesworth is in the Bahamas, retracing her mother's last steps, giving statements to police, searching for answers that authorities have not yet been able or willing to provide publicly. Sports Radio WSBT, and Brian Hooker is back in the United States, having left the islands where his wife vanished, where the investigation into her disappearance continues, and where her body has not been found. The Soulmate, the boat named Soulmate, is moored in Marsh Harbor. Police have been photographed inspecting it. What they found inside, what electronic devices may reveal, what a more detailed forensic analysis will eventually show, all of that remains for now, beyond the reach of the public. Part 13. What Lynette Hooker tells us about where violence hides the case of Lynette. Hooker is a reminder of something domestic violence researchers have repeated for decades. The most dangerous places for a woman are frequently not dark alleys or a stranger's car. They are shared spaces with known people, with people who are supposed to be trusted, with people they have built an entire life alongside. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, approximately 1 in 4 women in the United States experiences severe physical violence from an intimate partner at some point in their lives. The majority of women murdered in the United States are killed by current or former intimate partners. And the separation phase, the moment when a woman decides to leave an abusive relationship, is statistically the period of highest risk for intimate partner homicide. Lynette was in the separation phase when she wrote those fear messages, and then she reconciled, went back, the cycle continued. And 3 months later, in a confined space in the middle of the ocean, at night, with no witnesses, with no life jacket, she vanished. We cannot say with certainty what happened on that dinghy. Nobody can. But we can say with certainty that Lynette Hooker was afraid. That fear was documented. She expressed it clearly in precise words to someone she trusted. And the system, the friends, the family, the support structures, could not protect her from what she herself said she feared. Part 14. A direct word. Before we close this investigation, something needs to be said directly. If you are in a relationship where you feel fear of being alone with your partner, fear of isolated places with them, fear of expressing your opinions, that fear is real, and that fear deserves to be taken seriously. If you know someone in a similar situation, a friend who sent messages expressing fear, a neighbor you hear arguing at night, that information has value. The people in Lynette's life had pieces of the puzzle. The tragedy of isolation is that those pieces rarely come together in time. In the United States, you can contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233, available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you or someone you know is in immediate danger, call 911. Don't wait. Don't minimize. Don't assume things will improve on their own. Lynette Hooker wrote "not going back," but she went back and she paid the highest price. Epilogue. The case remains open. This investigation is ongoing as this video is recorded. New details may emerge. The federal investigation may result in charges. Lynette Hooker's body may be found. A complete forensic analysis may reveal evidence that changes the direction of the case. Digital forensics of electronic devices may bring decisive information to light. What we know today is this. Lynette Hooker was 55 years old. She was a mother, a wife, a sailor, an adventurer. She loved the ocean. She called it her happy place. She documented her life in it with genuine and visible joy. And inside that same documented life, there are messages that reveal a terror she couldn't show the world, only to a friend, in private text, in secret. Messages that say, "I am afraid. I cannot be out there with him. I am not going back." She went back. And now she is gone, missing in the ocean she loved. The investigation continues. The Coast Guard continues. The family continues asking questions. And here at Crime Blackline Archive, we will continue documenting every development in this case, because Lynette Hooker deserves to have her story told with accuracy, with respect, and with the depth that the complexity of her situation demands. If you have information about this case, contact the U.S. Coast Guard or the Royal Bahamas Police Force. If this case disturbed you, if it made you think about the people in your own life and the spaces where violence hides, subscribe to Crime Blackline Archive. We investigate cases like this every single week. Cases that deserve to be remembered. Cases that demand answers. Hit that like button. Leave a comment with your theory. Share this video with someone you think needs to see it. These are not just stories. These are real people, real lives, real mysteries that demand to be solved. Lynette Hooker has not yet found the justice she deserves, but as long as there are people asking the right questions, with the right documents, the right evidence, the willingness to look at what is uncomfortable, that search continues. We'll see you in the next investigation.